Welcome back to my channel for a follow-up video to my recently posted introductory video of the very beautiful retro style Nikon full-frame sensor camera called the ZF. And that's a perfect travel companion if you are a Nikon shooter and you work with a Nikon Z8 or Nikon Z9. Having a spare camera body is always good. This is one that qualifies to be with you on travel. And when I posted my video back then, I did not show any sample images. I just explained in great detail everything you need to know about this new retro style camera from Nikon. And I promised that I will take this camera with me to Singapore, which I did, and shoot cityscapes at day and at night. And that's what this video is all about. I will show mainly sample images, but also want to talk a little bit about my shooting experience with the Nikon ZF, and will give you more details in addition to what I provided in my video, where the link will be posted down below in the info box. Let's kick this off. If you have watched my last video about the Nikon Zf, by the way, my only video so far on that camera, you have heard about my dilemma. I was contemplating in front of the camera, should I go with the special edition 40mm because that's a retro style lens on a retro style camera body, or should I go with the 28mm, which is a wider angle of course, and also fits very nicely to that camera body. And the aperture settings here are different. The 40mm has the widest f2.0, the 28mm has an f2.8, but at the very end I ended up at a totally different lens which I took with me to Singapore, namely the 26mm widest open f2.8. And what did drive my decision? Well, very simple. Singapore, if you've ever been there, is very humid and very hot. And humidity is clearly toxic for a camera. Now, the Nikon ZF camera body is weather sealed, no problem with that. But these two special edition lenses, they don't have any rubber sealing here, you see? They are not protected against moisture and dust in the same way as normally you find it in the Nikon Z lens lineup. And the same is true for the 40mm lens here. Let me get this open. You see, there is absolutely no rubber sealing. In contrast to the 26mm, let me just get this off here for a moment to show you. And here, if you look at that, here is a beautiful rubber sealing, and that will protect the camera from getting wet inside. And that's why I decided for the 26mm widest open f2.8, and you will see in a moment that the image quality coming from that camera lens combo here is absolutely fantastic. I can fully recommend this camera with the 26mm, but very likely also with any other Nikon Z lens you find in the lineup of the system cameras. It's really cool what you get out of this camera, and a lot of people will say, yeah, but this is only a 24 megapixel sensor here. Don't worry, that's plenty of space. And you also have here, by the way, this was the first Nikon Z camera with a multi-shot option. So you can actually go up to a much higher resolution if you place the camera on a tripod. By now, for instance, the Nikon Z8 also has a multi-shot feature, and that's why this is no longer a unique thing you get in the Nikon ZF, and very likely other Nikon cameras will follow. But 24 megapixel is plenty enough if you want to go for large prints. And this very compact, very small lens, look at that, 26mm widest open f2.8 is a perfect fit on that camera. If I would have been Nikon, I would have not shipped it with one of these special edition lenses because they don't qualify for weather sealed shooting. I would have shipped it with the 26mm, which is even smaller and more compact if you look at that, and has a terrific image quality, and which has a full weather sealing, which is very convenient if you are in a country like in Singapore, or at certain seasons in Hong Kong, where it can also get very humid, or somewhere else in the world. Before talking about sample images and looking into them, let's talk a little bit about my shooting experience. And here, this hand grip here made my life a million times easier. I love hand grips anyway. People who follow me on my channel know that for Leica cameras, for instance, typically if it is an M camera, I go for a hand grip. If it is a Q camera, I go for a hand grip. Because I'm not a shoulder strap person, I don't like cameras hanging around my neck. But if I have a grip like this here, and this one here, if you have seen my previous video, came for free for early orders, this one makes the camera really so much more convenient to have in your hand. Very firm, very solid grip. What I also liked in my shooting are the many mechanical control elements on the camera body. This is just fantastic. And in general, everything here is also customizable in terms of buttons. So you can go into the menu and you can basically create a camera that suits perfectly your own personal workflow. And that is something I always like in the Nikon universe. So I want to go into sample images now because that's what people were after and asked in the comments for. But summing up how I liked shooting this camera, I liked it big time. This is a fantastic camera, and if I go on travel with my Nikon Z8 or Nikon Z9, then this is a really good companion to be with me as a second camera body, a spare camera body, because every lens that fits on a Z8 or Z9 also fits on that C mount here on the Nikon Zf. It's a very professional sensor because it's full frame. The 24 megapixel are not a showstopper. You don't necessarily need 45. You have a multi-shot option here, as I mentioned before. This was the first camera who offered that in the menu. Now it's also with the Nikon Z8, for example. And you have so many functions, features you can use with that camera. Now I want to show a quick clip about my shooting location in Singapore, and then I will discuss sample images, and then I will conclude the video, of course. From the various images I shot on an early morning in Singapore, you see here it's so early, the sun is not up, it's still pitch black night. I want to select now a few in order to make my points. And this is a comparison on the left-hand side of a night shot with the native resolution of the sensor, 24.4 megapixel, versus on the right-hand side a multi-shot on a tripod with final image resolution of 97.5 megapixel. And first of all, what's interesting is the multi-shot option has a bit more pop in the final image. I think the coloring here is a bit stronger, almost a bit more saturated, although these images have been edited with the same parameters. Why that is the case, I have no idea. I just accept it. But both images look nice from the color rendering, from the lights of the hotel in the background. That's the very famous Marina Bay. And the level of detail in both images is also really good. You have some motion blurriness here because you see some people here crossing the street on the left-hand side image, and you see some cars going forth and back here on the right-hand side. And because that's a 6-second exposure, stopped down at f8.0 and an ISO of 100, you have motion blurriness of moving subjects, of course. But the level of detail is very good on the left-hand side, 24 megapixel native resolution if you look here. But of course, you get plenty more details on the right-hand side if you go for the multi-shot. And you see, for instance, here on the ceilings here, there are 3 letters printed on, T, K, and H. And that's very well recognizable on the multi-shot image on the right-hand side and not so well on the left-hand side because the resolution is just much smaller. But generally a good result. I can confirm that this camera lens combo for night photography, cityscapes at night, is terrific. And I think at least by this image, you get a little bit of a pre-taste how this would look like if you would take out that camera at night and go for cityscapes. Morning atmosphere here in Singapore, the sun is coming up, blue hour in the morning, lots of details in that image. Here you see the Mandarin Oriental in the background. All images I'm going to show now are in the native resolution of the sensor. And the exposure time here was 1/4 seconds. And the rule of thumb for a 26mm lens would actually dictate you about 1/50 seconds as exposure time if you don't want to have blurry effects in your image. And here you can, of course, push the envelope based on in-body image stabilization. And I've read some blogs in the web where people actually say that the 8 f-stops which Nikon promises by in-body image stabilization can actually be fully exploited. So people are talking about handheld shooting longer than 2 seconds, which is absolutely amazing. My natural limit, because I don't have the most calm hands in the world, typically with in-body image stabilization is 1 second. And then depending on the focal length, of course, with a 26mm lens, if you have calm hands, probably you can go to 2, 3, 4 seconds handhold shooting, and that's quite nice, of course. Here 1/4 seconds is already a violation of the usual rule of thumb, 1 divided by 2 times focal length, and the image is pinpoint sharp. The morning atmosphere on that particular morning was really nice. The colors in the sky, you see here again the famous Marina Bay, and in the background a yellowish sky coming from the sun, of course. And again, if you look at that image, some motion blurriness here on cars, but here that street sign, for instance, Fullerton Road, very well readable. 24 megapixel, I'm repeating myself, is good enough for any shooting you want to do. And in Singapore in particular, in the morning or at night, you get nice colors, nice lights, and really good scenes which you can catch with your camera. Here's some panorama stitching I was doing, and that image now has 43.1 megapixels, so it's about at the resolution, the native resolution of a C9 or C8. And again, nice sky, nice atmosphere here. And you see again here the Mandarin Oriental, you see the colors in the background, the Marina Bay Hotel, very nice. And of course, that is something you can print in large dimensions and sell for a client who has a relationship to Singapore, for instance. That's the last image I want to quickly comment on. It's now later in the morning. You see beautiful blue sky here and a very nice skyline of Singapore here. And this image is again super sharp and super crisp. And also if you look into what the lens is delivering here, I think the combination of sensor and lens delivers nice colors here, nice micro contrast if you look into that, and in general just a really good image. And that image also is nice because there is this little bridge here in the foreground going into the water, and then in the second layer in the background you have the city skyline. So quite nice. I think this camera lens combo is quite capable. It's very compact and it delivers from all angles, and I will now conclude the video. Alright, we are coming to the end, but what I want to conclude now is the following. There will be people who think these type of cameras, they are a gimmick. They are not really necessary in the photography and camera world, because they are for people who could not let go the good old times of film photography with professional Nikon film cameras. There are people who will say this is a gimmick for people who are in love with retro style photography, but that's not true. As you saw in the image quality on the cityscapes I showed, and you can basically do every type of photography if you mount the adequate lens here on that camera body, this is a highly professional tool for serious photography. And the workflow with that camera is absolutely terrific because of all these manual mechanical elements you have on here. The versatility, if you use it, for instance, together with a second camera body like a Nikon Z8 or Z9, is absolutely fabulous. And the in-body image stabilization works so well that you can actually go for significantly longer exposures, hand-holding and hand-hold shooting, and do not necessarily need a tripod, as I showed in a couple of sample images. So my recommendation for this camera is 100%. It's not only good looking, it's not only very robust and stable, it's not only weather sealed, it not only has all these mechanical elements which some of us in photography really love. It's also delivering in terms of image quality, and you will get fine art photography out of that camera if you know how to shoot photos, because at the very end the photo is always shot by the photographer and not by the camera. If you liked that video, don't forget to drop me a thumbs up. Stay tuned on my channel, there's always more to come. Thanks for watching, stay safe and healthy, and of course, peace out.